Yeah. Well, Prerak, that's going to segue right into what we have going on, man. Today we're going to talk about, flipping houses, right? That's just one thing, but it comes deeper from just your background and just our community background, right? Growing up, we've seen a lot of examples of that. With that, we can get started.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's do it.
So, who are you and what do you do?
Well, you know me as Prerak, full name Prerak Patel,
Yeah.
and a lot of people know me as PJ because my name is hard to pronounce. So even for Indian people. So, um,
That's crazy
but
that Indians have a hard time pronouncing your name too, Prerak.
not all of some do
Yeah.
because it's just the way I guess it's spelled out.
Hmm.
That's the reason. But yeah, so I'm into entrepreneurship. I've always been into it. Went to school for a business degree, but I think it's not the business degree that helps. It's actually just the knowledge that you acquire along the way, especially from, like you said, it's businesses in our blood. That's
Yeah.
what our grandparents did. That's where our parents did, and that's what luckily I got into. And it's been good to me from grace of God. It's been good to me, so I continue to do it. Yeah.
So, what was your first business?
First business was DJ.
DJing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Started at
Yeah.
17.
Okay. Tell me about the DJing days.
Well, I was always fascinated. Every time we go to parties and I was always into music, listening, and I'm like, oh, this would be pretty interesting. I mean, I didn't do it or I didn't anticipate of it becoming a business. It was more of a hobby. And you know what people say, you getting into a business that's actually your hobby, then it's not considered work. And for me, fortunately, everything worked out great because at the time I moved to Georgia from New York, and I wanted to get into DJing, and I just got my brother-in-law's system because he was just doing it on the side and for fun, and I took it and I'm just like, let me just practice at home, and I started doing it, and I'm like, okay, hey, this is pretty cool. And then around the same time, the Macon Munder was being built.
Hmm.
And that's, I think, one of the biggest successes that we had because of the Munder being built around the same timing. And obviously, when the Munder was built, then there were, events happening, baby showers. I mean, I started small. It wasn't anything big. And my partner, cousin, Birens, was with me at the time, so I involved him in it as well. And from then on, we started doing small gigs, baby showers, birthdays, and then eventually would say what a year or 2 years into it started getting bigger jobs and got into bigger events
Yeah.
and just grew from there.
Okay. So started small and then got into bigger events. How was the DJing business?
Oh, I
Sounds
loved it. Like I said, it was a big passion of mine. I still love it actually. Yeah, I miss it. Obviously some part of it, not all of it, because
yeah.
the negotiating part, and you know how that goes with Indian communities, always
Oh yeah.
negotiating.
Oh yeah.
So
I
want full service, but don't want to
abs-
pay it.
absolutely cheapest price. And even after it's negotiated on the last day, they'll negotiate
Yes,
again.
they'll negotiate. Like, oh, you know this guy. Your relatives. They're also related to me this way, and then like,
Yeah.
oh, it knocked me a discount, a family discount or something. I'm like,
They're
everything's
actually
gone. You
kidding.
can't
They'll
discount.
bring the relative.
Yeah.
Uh, I had a similar story where it was a full service wedding, from Grashanti all the way to the reception. And I knew one of my friends was, somehow related or like family friend at them.
Right.
But the price was set, everything was done, killed everything, went into overtime, even did the after party. And then the day after, you go to the hotel to collect everything.
Right.
And my friend happened to be there. And it was basically they had, and it's like, I'm gonna tanabadu stop you. I'm gonna
Yeah,
give it
you
to you.
do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I was literally negotiating against my friend.
That
And
was like blackmailing, right? From the dad's part.
it's the shittiest thing. No, absolutely the shittiest thing. And at the end of it, I'm just looking at my friend. I was like, dude, you're you're basically reneging on the entire deal for $500. But
Right.
he just would not drop it. It was, yeah, but that's the community.
Yeah, it is. But see, that's the thing though. That was during that time when I started and then slowly passing the torch to you. You dealt with some of those as well. But I think it changed towards the end, right? Because then there was like a whole thing. When I started, it was more about a trust. Like there was no deposit, there was no contracts or anything like that. Like, oh, hey, we need you to come, 3 weeks from now. Can you do it? Are you available? I'm like, yeah, I'll be there. And then, majority of the time, you knew everybody. It was a smaller community. When I first started, I'm talking about
Yeah.
because we only did smaller parties,
Mm,
so we knew everybody
mm,
around that time. It's like maybe if your dad calls me, right? I'm not gonna ask uncle for like, hey, send me a deposit.
yeah.
It was like that trust thing, and it was like family oriented. And then later on, when we started doing parties outside of our circle, if you will, that's when we got into like, hey, you're gonna have to send me a deposit or, you know, something or contract.
Right.
So then I think it's totally switched. You pay what, 25% first, then 25% like 2 months before, then 25%, and then the final payment when you arrive before the party starts. So there's no
Right.
nonsense. And everybody does it differently, but I think that's the norm now.
Got it. Payment plan and then clear the balance
Clear the balance before the party starts.
before the party starts. Yeah.
Yes.
So I didn't realize that, you started right around the time that the Macon Mandir was being built, right?
Right.
Uh,
Yes.
yeah. Do you remember what year the Mandir was built, or around what
Um,
time?
so the temple portion was built first, right? And then the hall in the back, the venue itself was built later on because it was much bigger. So I think
Right.
the temples, eh, don't quote me on it, but I believe it was, I want to say 2005-ish,
Yeah. Sounds about right.
roughly 2004, 2005.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I probably like started playing around DJing like just a system at home, not doing any gigs or anything, probably 2003.
Got it.
Yeah, 2002, 2003.
Okay. Hmm.
Yeah, and before, it was the Byron Hall. Are you familiar with that one?
I am. I am.
Yeah, so
The one
that's where all
in,
the parties happened in Byron.
yeah.
And then slowly after the Macon Hall was made, then that's where everything happened.
Okay. So from what do you miss about the DJing days,
Um, just
and what do you not miss?
the not miss you already got, right? The negotiation part with all the uncles.
Yeah.
And then they blackmail you some way, somehow.
Yep.
So what I miss the most, I would say, is just being there and playing music and then looking at people's faces and there's a song that they love and then you can see the reaction change, like their
Right.
whole facial and they're singing along with it and going along with the beat and meeting
Right.
so many new people. I mean, every time we left a party, we got another gig. There was all word of mouth, and then when people see like, oh, we're having a party, can you come and DJ? Compared to like we did zero marketing, and you know that. And I mean, we didn't do any marketing.
Right. It was
So
all organic.
yeah,
So yeah. Um, going back to negotiating with the uncles, do you think negotiating when you were young back then, with grown men
mhm,
on the other side, right, with a lifetime of experience,
right.
how has that helped you in negotiating in business today?
I think that had to be honest with you, DJing was probably the foundation of me becoming where I am right now because it taught me so many lessons. You brought a
Mm,
good point up, right? About negotiation skills. When you're 17 and you're dealing with like a 35, 40 plus year old person who's successful, who's already probably, owning multiple businesses.
drives
You
drives
yeah,
the most expensive car, lives in, the
yeah,
nice.
lives with like
Right.
nice house and everything, right? And you're 17 years old and you're dealing with this person.
Right.
So I think what helped me the most is staying firm, as in like, hey, this is my price. I mean, like, and I've said this to so many of these successful uncles that we know in Macon right now that look, yes, I'm not going to be the cheapest, but if you're looking for quality, you got to pay for quality. And then I would give an example. I'm like, all right, what's your profit at your convenience store? They'd be like, oh, inside business. So I'm like, okay, why not gas? Because like, oh, we can't really do anything about it. It is what it is. We make like 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 cents a gallon. So I'm like, okay, how about if I come to your store and just fill up my gas and I'm like, oh, it's $2. How about if I just give you $1 per gallon? How would that make you feel? Like I'd be losing money. So I'm like, exactly, you're paying for service. You're not paying for anything else. It's my service, my time. So I think then you would just have to tweak it a little bit and how you say it. And that's
Hmm.
what helped them understand, like, no, I get it. And then more than likely, they're not going to argue with you. Like, okay, fine.
Right. Yeah.
So, yeah.
Hmm.
Instead of me saying, I'm going to come to your store, I'm going to get a Hershey bar. They're like, okay, le llama también. Because they're making what, 60% profit off of it.
Right.
So,
You gotta get them where it hurts. Just
exactly, exactly. Yeah. Or for example, if you're a hotel owner, right? Like, oh, I'm going to come and get a room for $10. Like,
yeah,
yeah.
me and all my staff.
Yeah, that's like costing me my room service, like, my maid that much money to make the room. No, get out of here.
Yeah, using up all the electricity, all the water, using all the anemones,
Yep.
and my maids have to make up like X amount of rooms. Nah,
And I
it's
want to check in early and leave late.
yeah.
So,
Well, I mean, there's that entire thing, and we could talk about it, but it's like right around the Macon Mandir, right? Whenever it
mhm,
was built, so much of the community just kind of sprawled out from there. It became
correct.
pretty much a giant hub for all of us.
Right.
Um, yeah. How did that help your, I guess, your DJ business?
I mean, see, usually before when what I would say mid 2000s to late, like 2008, 2009. I don't know if you remember those parties, right? But usually everybody was invited because it was such a small community at the time. And
Yeah.
everybody knew each other, even during Navratri Garba time. If you remember, everybody knew each other. I think after what, 2012, 2013, it started getting out of hand,
Mm,
where everybody just like came in and we looked like the new people when we went.
right. Yeah.
So, I mean, I think that's what helped. Everybody was at every single party. They knew your service, what you provided, what kind of person you were, and the quality of service you're offering.
Mm,
So, like, I think that's what made us grow the most. And being in the community, I think that was another thing. Because
yeah.
all the other, um, I think all the other DJs at the time were from Atlanta and they didn't know like the Gujarati concept, like the wedding, like what songs to play, what garbas to play. I mean, yeah, there's a big list of garba that you can just put, but our like, Samaj have a different taste when it comes to garba.
Yeah.
So
It's
just
very, very
exactly.
nuanced.
So understanding that,
Hmm.
I think helped.
Okay. So DJing, and then how long was DJing? And then
I mean, you could help me answer that question. I mean, when did you get into it 100%? Like what year? I know I got
uh,
married in 2014, right? So I wasn't really doing it too much around that time. So 2013, I think, is when you took over fully, 2012 or 2013. Because I
yeah,
moved to North Carolina in 2011.
yeah. Uh, I remember the first time I dabbled in it was actually with you, where you were taking a business call, and you needed somebody to switch a song.
Right.
Uh, but I think you were talking with your girlfriend at the time. Monica, which is now your wife, you were talking to her and you had to go outside for something. And yeah, and I was very young. It was at a one of these parties. It was, I think, a baby shower,
Okay.
and I must have been 14 or 15 at the time.
Yeah,
And
right.
obviously, Sandeep Juju, right? He's, one of
Yep.
your best friends, and he used to live with Bijo and them. And so, I knew you were kind of, sort of friends, right? I mean, you observe a lot. But yeah, that's when I started dabbling. That was the first time, but official, when like everything was like invested in. I think the first time it was in 20 um 2011,
Okay.
when, yeah, 2011, when I came and started practicing at that liquor store.
Right.
Um, and in in official capacity, I remember me and Rutvik had our first event in 2000 and end of 2012. It was a baby
That sounds
shower
about right.
in nearby. I forgot the name of the town, but it's nearby Tifton. Um, it
Okay.
was like when I say we took on that event, it was like an official capacity. We had rented a van. We had like, or not rented a van, but we had gotten Papa's van, filled everything up. We knew what to
And did
set
it by
up,
yourself,
how to
right?
do it. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
completely by ourselves like that. It was um, it was definitely a summer before college. Um, and man, what was the name of the town? It was nearby Tifton. It's a
Okay.
pretty big community right now. I forgot. Nambuliga, but
Yep.
it was a baby shower.
Okay.
It wasn't all the way to Tifton, but it was like in between.
Okay.
Um,
Gotcha.
yeah, yeah.
I
And
thought
so,
I thought maybe you might
oh,
have started a little bit earlier than that. 20. I don't know. For some reason, I thought it was like late 2010, like 2010.
well, yeah, that's when I started like practicing. I mean, or
Okay, that's when you right.
yeah, like I had made the commitment. I was invested a little bit before, but I had made the commitment to dive into like the Indian event market and like
Hmm.
really start to practice and come to the liquor store. Yeah,
Right,
so
and
that's what
just practice
started.
in the back there.
Yep,
I think
yep.
that I don't know if how much impact it made on you, but I think that was one of those things where it's like, hey, if you really want to do it, show me the dedication.
Yeah, no, and sacrificing weekends, right?
That's the
Before
biggest.
college, I mean, this was just getting into college, but it was, yeah, sacrificing the weekends, and just because it was more of just like you, right? I think that business and that entire connection to music has had a big impact on me.
Right.
From Yeah, it set the foundation for even what I have going on right now, but more to your foundation, right? On after right around that time you had transitioned out. um why didn't you why didn't you continue on with the development of the event firm, so to speak?
Well, I
um
think one of the reasons, I think it was because you pretty much came in and you took over, and I think you were doing good or better than what I was doing. And it's one of those things where, and again, this is like a personal opinion, that you have different phases in life, what interests you. I mean, by no means that I in DJing stopped interesting me, right? I still am very interested in it, but then it's like you want to move on to other
mm,
things. You want to see what's out there. So that's when I had an opportunity to, and I see, right after business school, I didn't want to work for anybody. I wanted to do my own thing. I got a good offer from companies, but I had to move to California. I didn't want to do that. I don't, everyone I know are from, like, they're all from the East Coast.
mm,
So I'm like, no, and I don't want to work for anybody else because I've always been, doing my own thing ever since, what, 17. And what sparked, I guess, a light bulb in my head after the age of 17, I would say 17 or 18 years old of age. Um, thank, Thankfully, in almighty power, that I didn't have to ask my parents for any money. So I was
yeah.
financially independent after the age of 17, 18 years old. And had I worked, I don't know if I would be able to do that, honestly. And not only that, I was just doing on weekends, right? I had a, I was taking 16 to 18 credit hours college, right? Doing that and helping parents at the family businesses. When I wasn't working or doing DJing or anything like that, then I was at the liquor store or the convenience store doing something. So I think that's, you just have to push yourself when you're young. And I think that just stuck with me. So I'm like, all right, let me see what else I can do.
So that that work ethic that you're talking about when you're young, where do you think that comes from?
Just the way we were raised and the way we grew up in the community, I felt like now it's a little different because when we were growing up, we didn't have this kind of money. Like I'm
Yeah,
talking about our Indian community, okay, not just us. I'm talking about the whole Indian community because everybody was just working. There was no like, oh, it's a weekend, let's go somewhere. Like when do you remember going on a vacation?
never. I mean, it
Like when
was
we were
very,
younger, like maybe you go to like Six Flags or White Waters or maybe Panama City or something like that once in a while. But I'm talking like vacation, like going to Bahamas or going to Jamaica or, all these vacations we're taking now
yeah,
because we didn't see it, so we didn't know it was out there because our parents were constantly working like 12, 14, 16 hours a day, seven
yeah,
days a week. And I think we just thought that was normal. So
yeah,
I guess we just started doing that. So, I mean, in a way, it really taught us well that you have to have a good work ethic if you want to succeed in life.
right. But I feel like there's do you watch like not cartoons but like Batman, like the original Batman series?
Yeah, when like the original.
Yeah. Well, do you know the concept of Batman, right? Like
Yes, yes, yes.
he had parents, they
Yep.
were in the movie theater and then
Mhm.
they, right.
Right,
And the reason they had to leave the movie theater was because when Bruce was little, he wanted to go home because he was scared of what he
right.
saw. So he felt guilty that he got his parents killed.
Hmm.
Uh, and when America was evaluating Batman's impact on, like, this is like future facing, they were like,
Right,
man, it sounds like we need another Batman. Like without Batman, like it could, America as is cannot exist. So we need somebody to take over what. And so they did various experiments, and then the CIA got involved, and the DIA got involved, and they were doing all these experiments on like the population, and they were just like killing parents in different ways to try and recreate the perfect circumstance where it would be a person that would essentially like take over, what Batman was, right?
right.
And when I watched that as a kid, like that always stuck with me because I was like, wow, that's so fascinating. But growing up, I see that in our community where Indian parents are trying to like recreate and replicate the drive that they had in their kids in some way,
Mhm.
shape, or form. And it's like every generation that's getting diluted, right? Where I look at my sister's, kids, and the drive that they have, right? Through the generation, I can see three generations, right? I can
Right,
see uncle, I can see Juju, and then I can see, the kids.
right. Like when
And
we were
it's
growing up, we had a hand down car, right? Now
yeah,
they're getting Teslas, BMWs, Mercedes, like brand new, like no hand down cars, nothing like that. Like I'm talking about all the kids, not I'm not calling out anybody, but I'm saying
yeah,
like
yeah,
yeah, everybody, like even my
it's
cousins.
very different. It's very different. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
And again, I think I mean we can talk about how uh, I think it's just the work ethic and coming from another country and coming into the U.S.
yeah,
And
that and we saw our parents struggle. That's a big one, right? Like when my parents first came to the States, right, in 1991, I think, roughly. And I was old enough to understand. I was like 5 years old. So, like, seeing them work 17, 18, 20 hours a day. And at that time, it was like $3 an hour, dude. $3, $4, not even four, 250, $3 an hour. And being able to come to another country, learn the language, like, because they didn't speak any English. And same goes for your parents, right? No English, leaving all your friends, your family, everybody behind. And if they can come to this country and survive, dude, we have it so much better. Then we better do something better. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, 1990s, early 1990s, there was a recession too.
hmm,
So, and nobody would give you a job. Like you would have to pay for your own gas or tolls, wherever you lived, to go and find work, and then you work for free just to get trained.
So that's basically your parents in New York. They came to New York, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I think that stuck with me. Like that was always in my head.
Okay. So I want to dive a little deep into like when you first. This is my experience when I first came into America. You basically have a duality, right? You
Mhm.
have your identity at the house, and then you have your identity when you leave the house, right? Um,
Right.
where how did you, yeah, how did that work out for you in particular?
So in like, are you talking about when I first came or
No,
later
as you,
on?
I mean, obviously, you have your value system and everything at the house, right?
Mhm.
And then when you're away from the house, right? You switch into English, and speaking English comes with its own set of like personality traits,
Right.
right? So that's what I'm asking about.
But see,
How
it
was
was
that?
a little different when I was growing up in New York, though. New York was a different beast because you had so many different races. Like my friend circle in New York, I had like I hung out with Colombians, Cubans, Jamaicans, Koreans. So it was just like a mix. So I guess that really didn't start until I moved to Georgia
Mm,
because that was different. And then coming in from like Queens and moving into a town like Hawkinsville, which was very, very small, right? Very,
right.
very conservative. Um, Hence, like, I mean, I fit in, it was just a mindset, like, okay, this is where we're gonna be now. So,
Mm,
first couple of months, or yeah, I would say it was a little hard, but after I actually love the Southern lifestyle and
yeah.
I just fit in. I would say when I was at home, I was more obviously, everyone's more comfortable in the house. And then once you leave, you just have to adapt to the situation you're in. So, I mean, if everyone's enjoying having a good time, then you just fit into it. If everyone's playing sports, you go in and play sports. If everyone's going to the Munder, then you go to the Munder and then you make friends there.
Yeah.
So, yeah, just being able to adapt, I think that's a plus.
Hmm. Do you see the fact that like right now where you're living, are you still very involved in the community? Are you still very much so in like in touch with the community?
Where I am here in Raleigh,
Yeah.
yes, I would say so. Was it last weekend or last Saturday? This Saturday, past Saturday, we just had a community Garba, which we were there, and just what we did in Macon, right? Like after the event, we would help out and clean up and stuff. We did the
Right.
same thing there, and then
Mm.
same thing with the volleyball. That's how we started volleyball here in the community. I was always into it, right? So we started a group when we first started. It was like 10, 12 of us. Right now, we have about 30 people in that group.
Volleyball, like
Hmm.
got it.
Yeah.
Do you guys organize and go to tournaments now
So
and
we
compete
used to go,
against
yeah, we used to go to tournament. We hosted a tournament here too, and we used to go to tournaments, but lately we haven't been like since last year or so, year and a half or so, just because not all the players were able to go. And obviously, when you go to a tournament, you want all your A players. You
Yeah,
don't want to, you just want to go for the hell of it.
yeah.
So
Well,
that,
there's
and then
some knockout groups that'll go just to get out of the house.
yeah, yeah, no, 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 we don't do that. If we're gonna go, we're gonna make sure that we have a chance of winning.
Right.
So, but there are so many good teams out there. Like it's crazy, man. And this volleyball, it's just a big thing now for the Indian community, especially Sutis. They take it very seriously, and a lot of our friends here are Sutis.
Mm.
Yeah, so I mean, we have a good group of guys here.
What's the difference between Surtis and Leva and Kadwa and all of that?
No, I mean, I would just say it's just they come from a different places of India, right? So Surtis are more they love their food and drinks. They're very passionate about it. Gujaratis, like for us, our community is just like more into Garba. Like we're a diehard Garba fans.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, I mean they like it too, but I don't think they are as passionate about Garba as we are.
yeah,
And they're more into like just kicking back, relaxing, chilling, being happy in what they have, I would say. And a lot of them are like wealthy and everything, but at the same time, that like after 4 or 5 o'clock, they want to sit down, have a beer, relax, take it easy, Because
Hmm.
they've been here for a while now. I think way before we got here.
Yeah, I think their community came here in the late 70s, some even into the 60s. Uh,
Yes, yes. And they
yeah,
got into the hotel industry where we has got into the C-store business.
yeah.
So
It's very interesting. I mean, it's yeah. I didn't know this, Prerak, but did you know that India is the world's largest uh, emerging middle class?
India, the country itself,
India,
or
the country,
Indians.
and
Oh,
Indians in India itself.
okay. I did know that Indians were, I think, the most earned, I guess, or something in the US. Like they per their household median household income is like the highest
Hmm.
compared to the other communities. But I didn't know that about India. No, I did not know.
And then apparently they have more golf courses being built in India than anywhere else in the world at right now.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, uh, golf is very much so becoming a thing.
Interesting. I'm surprised they have the space to put the golf courses.
I'm surprised they have the water.
Unless
Like,
they put like fake grass like Cali, so
I
artificial turf.
let me ask you though, knowing Indians the way that you know Indians, if they go to a golf course, would they go to a golf course with the real grass or fake grass?
Definitely, I would say real.
Right.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so more than likely they're gonna have some fake ones for sure. But I think, they're gonna say, oh, I'm playing on real grass and right, the entire perception.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I can see that because I mean the amount of wealth that Indians have accumulated from India itself, it's crazy. It's mind-boggling.
If there's that many golf courses being open, you know what the next thing is?
What's going to be the next? Huh?
Indian top golf centers all over. But
Yeah,
imagine if you could, that's a franchise waiting to happen.
yeah.
If it's like an emerging market, right? It's like, man, what comes after next? I could sell all the golf balls. I could sell all the golf clubs.
Always looking
Um,
for things just to sell and make a dollar.
hey, listen, isn't that the basics of, just like they'll buy it for a dollar, sell it for two, right? After
That's how it
paying off
goes.
all the international tariffs and taxes. Yeah, but
But I see it happening, especially Gujarat too, right? Like they're becoming very, very, not very, but I would say they're leaning more towards liberal side on alcohol and stuff now. Before, it used to be so strict, like everything is just dry, even though you can get it in the secondary market, but still.
yeah. We'll talk about the secondary market in the U.S. and in India. But I had one of my friends. He settled in Canada now. He's his wife's still in India, but he came here on a student visa. But now he's officially settling. And he was telling me that you wouldn't recognize Bapunagar or Ahmedabad anymore, because it's basically like Bombay, where there's nightclubs that are open 24/7, all night long, and it's basically a giant party city now.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh,
I heard
and
that a
I had a
lot.
hard time believing that. I was like, there's no way, because I went there in during my cousin's wedding in 2018. So
Okay.
it's been a while. I mean, it's been
So
8 years.
I think I went 2017, so I'm going this December, so I'll see how it goes.
Oh yeah, but apparently, yeah, it's a very different environment. But yeah, a lot of but again, the brain's just tuned to seeing, okay, well, there seems to be an opportunity here, you know.
Right.
Yeah,
I think that's one of the things about our community, right? We're always looking for the next opportunity. It's like we don't stop. It's like it's just a brain, it's just a mindset. I know a lot of our community members that we've seen, they can easily retire and not have to worry about anything, but they don't.
100%. Yeah, yeah. Why do you think that is? Is it because they just want to build, like in America, people often think about their kids and they try and save, but um, for some reason, I have a feeling that Indians think about two, three, four, five generations ahead and trying to accrue.
Yeah, I think that used to be the case, not so much anymore.
Really?
At least that's just my opinion on it because, when our parents were doing everything, they put us as a priority, right? Like, oh, I want to make sure my son or daughter or whatever, they're going to be set. They don't have to work as hard as we do. And then what do we do? We're doing the same thing for our kids, right? But with like, hey, and then in the side note, you're like, they'll study, they'll do whatever they have to. We still want to enjoy our life too. Like, let's go on vacations, let's go here, let's go there. We're not constant. Yes, saving is very important, but at the same time, you're splurging a little bit on yourself. Yes, you're gonna set up everything for your child too, like making sure the education, you're gonna give them the top-notch education, however much they want to study, all there.
Right.
But then at the same time, you're not gonna baby feed them every single step of the way. You want them to learn too, right? Like we got to figure stuff out. I don't think I'm gonna let Niv just just give him a golden spoon and be like, here, you got everything that you need. Yes, I'm gonna be there to support him and guide him, but at the same time, I want him to use his brain and understand and do what he likes. He doesn't have to do business by no means. If medical field or if he likes engineering or if he does wants to do something else, DJing, go for it.
Right.
But I think that's necessary as well. That's just my opinion.
Yeah. No, that's very good. Um, I think allowing or having people or giving people freedom to choose is very important. And who knows? Maybe he looks up to you, and then he's like, man, my dad's a great business owner and was a DJ, right? And he's like, oh, well, I'll dabble in all these things. Who knows? But
Right.
that's
Yeah.
great that he flexibility, man.
Yeah. So just like whatever he wants to do. I mean, like I told you last time, that I got him a small set just to like play around with. And he's a big music guy. He loves music.
Yeah,
So
I saw the video that you sent me over.
yeah, he's into music.
Yeah, with the headphones. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So we'll see.
Yeah,
I mean, where life takes him, hopefully in good places. So
great places, man.
yeah.
I've been thinking about like for example with Anoki, right? She's
Mhm.
roughly around the same, I think a little bit older, maybe a year or
Yeah,
two
she
older.
is. Anoki's a little bit older. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anoki's
Um,
what, 6 now?
yeah, 6.
Yeah, Niv's 4.
Or,
So two
okay,
years. Yeah.
3 years. She's yeah, I'm just thinking about how do you engage that curious mind, right? And
Yeah, it's
so,
crazy.
whenever I get the opportunity to spend time with her, we'll just go outside, pick up leaves, look at bugs, underneath. Like she has a little microscope,
Hmm.
uh, and so she'll bring it out every single time I'm there because she, and so yeah, how do you just give them curiosity to where they're
It's
naturally
oh,
gonna
it's
find.
it's natural, man. It just comes to them. And like same thing with Niv, when we're just walking outside, he has so many
Mm,
questions. And this is the time for them to, learn the information because they're going to ask you, they don't know it. And it can be just like a simple question like, oh, um, why does this bug have 4 legs and this bug has 8? Then how do you answer that? It's like, oh, that's just the way that God made them.
mm,
And they're probably using it for something. Maybe they need 8 legs to crawl where they're crawling or eat or dissect whatever. So yeah, he has so many questions right now as well. So it's just the way that God made their brains. So
yeah.
you can't
There,
answer every single question that they have, right? Because then
yeah.
at the end it comes back to, oh, um, how are babies growing in the stomach? And then it gets into that category, and then you're just like, oh, where do humans come from? Or and right now, Niv's into dinosaurs, right? Why are there no more dinosaurs? What happened to them?
That's awesome. There's a book. There's that that I'm thinking about writing. It's called The Chicxulub Impact. Unten een
Mhm.
boek gelezen. And
Okay.
it's literally, yeah. No, I'm not writing a book, but these are questions that are very like, you know, um, not everyday people ask questions like this.
Right.
Yeah, but kids have such a complete innocent slate that
Exactly.
there's no filters. And when
Nothing.
they look at something, they're just, yeah, yeah. There should be
And
a
they're
focus.
saying it in such a naive way, right? It's not like they're being sarcastic. It's just like, oh, how are babies born? Or who brings babies? Or what happened to the dinosaurs? Like we
Yeah.
get that question all the time. Like, huh, what would happen if the dinosaurs were still here? Like, I guess they would eat us. And I tell them that.
We would we wouldn't have evolved.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
that's crazy. But I mean, and in a way, it makes you smile too. And it's just like, okay, at least they're asking the questions. I would be afraid if they're not asking questions.
Yeah. So that's again, you giving, your kids, I guess, the freedom to be whatever, right? Uh, I think that's very different than what we grew up with, which is doctor, lawyer, engineer,
Right.
right? Where that was, I mean, to a certain extent, that pressure is still there.
Hmm.
I wouldn't say past like with me and my generation, but for sure with, um, and probably not even with you, but definitely Dinesh Kumar, like for example, that generation,
Hmm.
it's still very much so prevalent where they're imposing that right on their kids.
Right.
Uh, yeah, where do you think that pressure comes from in our
Well,
community?
I
Because
think
it's good,
the
but it can be very overwhelming.
yeah, I think the biggest reason being is they work so hard, manual labor, and they don't
Mm,
want to see their kids do that, right? And then when they go to doctors or lawyers or engineers, obviously they're going to go see a doctor or lawyer one time or another, right? But for closing of a house or at least for annual checkups. And then they see the respect that the doctors get or the lawyers get, sir, ma'am, this, that, and they probably clicks in their head like, oh, I want to see my son or daughter being in that chair one day, right? So I more than likely I think that's where it comes from.
right. Respect.
And even
I know.
like, the respect part of it is being like a doctor has ability to save a person's life,
Hmm,
right? So I think that makes a huge, huge impact on anybody. And if anybody was in an emergency situation, or if you've seen somebody in an emergency situation and you see doctors treating that person or handling that patient and they cure them, make them better, then I mean, it's just automatically like a great deal of respect. Or a lawyer being in a somebody being in a financial crisis or getting sued, and that lawyer saving that person.
right.
So,
So it sounds like there's a lot of things that our community has done very correctly. But
mhm.
if you could look at the other side of the coin for a little bit, what do you think our Samaj has not needs to improve on, or the community in general?
um, I would say like having that stereotype of only having your kids become doctors or lawyers or engineers. I think that's one thing because if you look at it, there's so many other careers that are as successful, um, as rewarding. It might not be one way, like let's just say financially, but health wise, or
Mm,
if that makes their kids internally happy. They can be a doctor, they can be a lawyer, but if they're miserable every single day, like, do you want to see that? Then what happens? They bring that to the house. Then they don't treat their spouses the same or their kids the same because they're internally depressed. So do you want to see that? Do you want them to live like that for the rest of their lives, causing more issues? If you're not happy, more chances of you getting diseases, scientifically proven. So I think that's one thing where they need to see like, hey, it's okay if they become a DJ. It's okay if they become a business owner or whatever else they
mm,
want to be. Or if they want to become an NBA player or NFL player, it doesn't matter.
right.
Yeah. But at the same time, I would say personally, in my opinion, that long as your child is raised right and is successful, then it's okay. You don't have to pressure them. I mean, yes, do you want to? I want to see Niv 100% be successful. Of course, who doesn't? Like, you when you have kids, you want your child to be successful.
Mm,
But that's one thing I would say they need to maybe tone down a little bit of only become a doctor, then you're successful.
right.
So,
Um, I think there's a lot of people right now in our community that are, they're they've dropped out of college. They're doing some type of a small hustle of some kind, whether it's a uh,
It's like a
smoke
startup
shop,
kind of thing.
not even like a smoke
Okay.
shop,
Oh, okay,
or
okay, okay.
yeah, yeah,
Gotcha.
yeah. There's like a huge group of like young Indians, right? Yeah, typically young men that are doing small businesses. Whether that's like even a kiosk at a mall for iPhone accessories. Um,
Okay.
like it's all out there. Um, how would they? Okay, if you were in their shoes,
Mm-hmm.
how would you level up? And you know what I'm
Um,
talking about, right? Like in just looking past the existing business, or essentially cranking that business to the max capacity, right? Like,
right.
yeah,
I would say, but what's their end long-term goal though? Is it
good question. Do you think the people that are doing these small businesses,
hmm,
um, what is their do they have an end goal? Do they have clarity? Do they know themselves enough to go out there and like actually start a business? Like, where do you think they're at? Let's start there, because we
well,
both been on the other
some
side.
yeah, so some I would say yes, some I would say no, just like everything else, right? Basically, some people and see it changes because when we were growing up, we didn't have social media like this that influenced us to do this or do that. Some people are very successful at it. Some people it's not made for them. So if you tell me to go, I mean, I might not even be successful if you tell me to go to a mall and put in a kiosk and multiply that. I mean, I don't know because how many people are going to the mall? There's so many different aspects to this. Like more people are shopping online. So I would say you need a long-term goal. Like where do you want to see?
Yeah. Let me add a little bit more context. And what I'm saying is, the entire culture, right?
Hmm.
I'm referring to is the machine culture, right?
Okay.
Or that entire ethos in general, right?
Right.
Or you know essentially starting up like an ATM arbitrage, right, of some kind.
And then
Um,
transferring it to the other side. I got you.
whatever it is, right? But those are examples, right? To where it might not be the entire like population, but it could be like 5% of the population, right? That have chosen that route, and then they're glorified because in the community they're like, wow, this person has a jet. This person has a jet. Oh yeah, he went to jail, but look, he's out the same day, and
Right.
he's posting a vacation photo on his jet in Vegas. And I'm talking about there's this guy, a couple of guys in Savannah, right, that are very much so, at least from what I know, and they're all these young guys that are operating these small businesses, right,
Right.
are very much so glorifying them and wanting to emulate them and be like them because they have all the check marks of all these, like the house, the car, the jet, the traveling at, and like all these things.
Right. Right. Right.
That is what I'm talking about, right? Like that. Again, it's a very small percentage of the overarching, like, our community, but that part is still there, right?
You're right. Okay, so I see what you're saying. So yeah, but at the same time, you got to understand when those people got into it at the time, maybe the timing was correct. I mean, they didn't get into it for the jet or for the house that they have, $30 million
100%.
house or jet or vacation home or whatever it is, right? Lamborghini, Ferraris that they have. Maybe at that time it was one of those things that they just did to survive because they had no other option. They didn't have education. They didn't have the means to do anything else. It was easy for them to do it, so they did it. And then the luck, their hard work, whatever you want to call it, helped them get to where they are now, right? So it might have been just like a necessity, like, hey, I need to feed my family, so I don't care what it is. If I have to go to jail for a day, 2 days, I'll go, but I'm going to do it. But
Right.
you knowing that if you do that now, it's going to do this. So would you do it? Maybe they won't because they have a lot more to lose now.
Right.
So I
Hmm.
think it's just a timing, man. When they came, they didn't have anything. They had one store. They probably put in those machines, and they're
Right.
like, I don't care. Let's see what happens.
Right. Yeah. And now, that's yeah,
But
that's
now, see, here's a great question. Now, the guy that has the jet, the guy that has the $30 million house, ask him, would you do the same thing? Maybe he might say no, because he has a lot more to lose now
hmm,
than when he
right.
first started. When he first started, he's like, I don't have anything. What am I going to lose?
Right.
You're a bigger risk taker when you don't have anything.
That's true. You have nothing to lose. But I would ask him, or maybe I'll work up, and do a podcast with him as well. But I would like to ask him, if you could do it all over, would you do anything differently to get to where you are today? Right.
Right.
Like that, I think would be a more interesting question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then at the same time, would you repeat it with knowing what you have right now?
Right. I
Because
think most of them would still take the chances.
see, that's the thing about the Indian blood though, because it's just we're risk takers. So, it's
Hmm.
just one of those things. You don't know. I mean, if I come to you and say, "Hey, Harsh, I have a project for you," um, your ROI is going to be like 90%. You're going to have to give me $100,000. In your mind, you're going to be like, I think I trust this guy. I might be able to. Yeah, you're not going to ask me much details. You will ask me, but not much because your head's stuck on 90% ROI. So you're going to be like, yeah, I will take the chance. Instead of like, oh, what do you need it for? What's this? What's that? Because Indian mind just are wired that way. ROI 90? What? The rest of the stuff is just like blurred out. So,
Right, right. Yeah. No, we are definitely business driven. Um,
yeah,
so work-life balance. How
it's
did you break the cycle of, again, looking at your parents working so hard, driving you, but that, there was a little bit of a point where a switch was flipped in order to establish a little bit of balance.
so
Um,
2011 to 2018, 2019, right?
hmm,
I worked my butt off like constantly, 7 days a week, whatever. And the reason I was able to do that was because Monica was in residency.
hmm,
And we were married in 2014, right? But we didn't start living together until like 2018, 2019, because she had to finish her residency in Georgia. So I think that's what helped with the work-life balance because I didn't really have to worry about anything. I was constantly just trying to build, 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 and work, work, work. And I did like 7 days a week. If I was not out of town or anything, I was working. I didn't care if it was Sunday. I didn't care if it was Saturday. I was looking at the clock. But then, when I went to Georgia, I went to Georgia a lot because she was there. So when I went to Georgia, then I mean, obviously, you still get calls and everything with running franchise businesses. You know how that goes with subways
right.
and all. This broke, or this store, this doesn't, or this person didn't show up, or this didn't happen. So,
Yeah.
but it comes with it. There are rewards with it as well.
Yeah. Well, in your business portfolio, do you still have the subways?
No, we're out of the restaurant industry completely.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what are you involved in right now?
So we do more of commercial cleaning company that we have.
Hmm,
We also do real estate, plazas, house flipping. And then we have C stores too. So we're like diversified a little bit. Um, Hospitality.
hmm.
So a little bit of everything.
Okay. How do
Yeah.
you how do you manage so many different portfolios? I mean,
Well,
they
so
seem to be very different businesses, right? When
they are.
one's looking at, they all seem very much so like, how can one company or one person be involved in XYZ when they're so vastly different?
Well, so see, the thing is, like, it's not like where I'm running the day-to-day shows in all these companies. I'm not. We have partners. So that's what helps. Um, so I think that's one of the things that you need to do. You can't eat the whole cookie. If you try to do that, then you're gonna just go nuts. It's harder
Hmm,
on you. Then you can't work out that work-life balance. You can't always be on vacation if you want to go somewhere. Um, I think that's one of the biggest things where I'm able to adjust my schedule. That's the reason I'll be Monica wanted to go to Gerba this weekend, unit starting, so we'll probably go this weekend.
Right.
Yeah, so if I was handling every single thing, I don't think I would get into as many businesses because at the same time, yeah, you can make the money, but you're not gonna have any time. What's the purpose?
Okay. Well, partnerships. What? How is a good partnership structured, and how does it allow you to maintain a lot of your freedom and flexibility?
I would say find partners that align with your thinking in some way, but not all the way, because you want to have different, you want to have people that use different, or no, I wouldn't say, let's put it this way. You wouldn't have people that think different from you as well, because if you're all thinking in the same direction, and if you're wrong, then all of you are wrong. Does that make sense?
Right.
You want to have somebody who's thinking a little bit different from you as well. So that's what we did. We have a good friend circle group here, that each person brings something to the table.
Hmm.
So if one person's more micromanaged, they're really good at micromanaging. So they're looking at every little small details. Some people are really good at macro managing. So, they look at the overall picture like, hey, it's profitable, it's doing this. Okay, let's move on to the next thing. Because then if you have two or three people that are just like digging into the small little details, who's looking at the bigger picture?
Hmm.
And then you're going to argue with that person like, oh no, I think do it this way. I think let's put the phone this way. Let's put the phone this way. So then that causes more issues. So having a diversified group helps. Diversified meaning thinking wise, or it can be diversified in other ways too. So I think that's what helped us. And me and Beaton are still in business ever since DJing till now. Everything that we do together. So and
Nice.
he's very very like he's very good at operations. So he handles that, and I'm more into like macro managing, like looking at the bigger picture and trying to see what else we can do in terms of like bigger pictures. And then we have other two or three friends that do the same thing. They're really good with numbers. Some can be really good with finding locations. Some can be really good with people. They have good people skills.
Hmm.
So when you put all this together, it works. So kind of like I think when I was when you and I were DJing, right? And when I was like training you, I started with loop in, loop out. I don't know if you
Oh
remember
yeah,
that.
I remember that. Yeah, very
Yeah,
first lesson. Well, the very first lesson was plugging in everything, making sure,
yeah,
right?
right. Making sure
Yeah,
everything's working properly.
right.
Yeah, but see, starting small and working yourself up, right? And see, this is my belief where I am. I would say it's like I'm not going to put 100% of my hard work. I would say it's like 60% of luck, 40% of hard work. And it can be different with like different mentality with you or anybody else. You might say, "Oh, well, I believe it's 90% hard work, 10% luck." But, sometimes being in the right place at the right time also helps. And if all your stars are aligned, so I mean, so many factors. But I still believe in 60-40, 60% luck, 40% hard work.
Okay. So when you're looking at all these different businesses, what is the common thread that you look for in a successful business?
At the end of the day, how much money you're taking home.
Yeah.
That's all it boils down to. I don't care if you're looking at all these balance sheets, looking at all these fancy numbers, but at the end of the day, what matters is how much money did you put, how much money you're taking out. It should be simple. That's my philosophy. Don't picture it so fancy with 50,000 pages of balance sheets and this and that. Don't give me all that crap. Give me simplicity. Give me simple numbers. How much money did I invest? How much money am I making?
Right.
That's it. That's what business is, man. I don't know why people make it so hard. it shouldn't be that hard.
So when you say people make it hard, how do people make it difficult?
Well, when you go to, for example, your CPA, like, oh, we got to look at this, we got to look at this factor, we look at this factor, um, then I'm going to make a profit loss statement. And that, I mean, it's important, don't get me wrong, but the simpler it is, the better it will be because our minds are trained that way, right? For example, if you go out to buy milk, you're not going to think too much about it. You're going to grab your gallon of milk and you're going to leave. So why don't you make it like that? Okay, I came in with $100,000. I'm leaving with $120,000. So $100,000 my investment I got back, plus I made $20,000, and plus you already have that investment in there. So that's a good business. Simple. Like, or if it's not 100,000, but you're making $20,000 every year, that's
Mhm.
okay. So in 5 years, you're going to get your principal, and then whatever you make after that, it's your profit. Or what if you sell that company, it's going to be your profit. So I like simple numbers, man. I don't like all the craziness of Excel sheet with 10 pages.
Yeah. Hmm.
Here's numbers. I mean, anybody can do that. And now AI can generate that for you if you want it.
Well, speaking of AI, how much do you leverage or use AI in your business, or just you personally?
I don't use it in business as much, but I started using it a little bit more personally, as in like instead of opening Chrome and Googling it, just chat GPT, just, hey, where's this? And
Hmm.
then in like 3 seconds you have your answer.
Yeah. I almost exclusively. I looked the other day on when's the last time I went to Google.com, and
Hmm.
it's been 2 months. And 2 months ago, I checked essentially like a physical therapist spot that I needed to go to.
Hmm.
And you know, since then, I've only been using Perplexity, which is like the search engine. It has an AI on it, but it's just like a search engine. GPT and Claude.
Which
Um,
is the best one that you like?
I have had so for different tasks. If I'm looking for something, like if I'm looking for a restaurant for me and my girlfriend to go to,
Mhm.
then more than likely it's going to be doing research with Perplexity,
Okay.
and then I'll go to Google Maps on my phone, right? And then like, just check out the reviews, right? Like live, the current reviews, and hours of operation and stuff. But I, for critical thinking and for like very, like, so for example, I wanted to outline our entire customer journey, right? From seed to like our retail, or, on the retail side. And I wanted to visualize the entire supply chain.
Hmm.
Uh, all I did was I basically recorded a voice recording of, how every single juncture works, and it was able to create almost like a mermaid chart, like like a relational mermaid chart, like a waterfall down, showing the entire supply chain and all the details, uh, in like less than 3 minutes, while I was, waiting in line. And because that was just a thought that I had, I was like, oh, I need a mermaid chart to show the entire supply chain. Um, and that was done on Claude. And yeah, so different things for different use cases. But every single one of my workflows starts with AI now, almost exclusively. Um, like right now, right after this, I'm going to be catching up on all the messages throughout the day, and that's going to be with Microsoft Copilot, because it's a simple prompt saying, catch me up on my day. And it'll query everything from yesterday and today, and then give me a complete summary, from my emails all the way down to my team chats. And so I don't miss anything. If there's anything important, I can easily delegate, right? And then move the ball forward. But yeah, it's, I mean, it's pretty much a game changer for me.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's a big game changer in general. Like I said, I mean, I use more Chat GPT than anything else.
Yeah,
Because it does a good job for me. I mean, I don't have to be on team like you. You're probably more on Teams a lot more than I am.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, but other than that, I always use ChatGPT with anything I have.
Yeah. Even with like, I've even done it with, so I have a business account to where, the chats aren't trained on the data, or at least that's what they're saying. Who knows what if that's the real case, right?
Right.
Um, but I uploaded, I needed to understand our test results, right? And whenever you're getting the analytical laboratory test results, it's what they call the COA, Certificate of Analysis.
Mhm.
And it's this is like the first time that I saw it, like a year and a half ago, or like one where we had a test fail, and I was just looking at what went wrong, and I couldn't understand, and it was a super late at night, and I was just catching up on everything, right? And so I just basically took that PDF file and chucked it into GPT, and we were able to evaluate, like, okay, what went wrong. And I was like, explain this to me like a fifth grader.
Mhm.
Um, and it was able to break it down and just give me all the bullet points. And now, I mean, from financial analysis to analyzing contracts and even role playing, that's so important. I mean, the next construction job that I have, in terms of like, getting a contractor for a build, um, I know I see so much value because I have all my data from the first one. I get to, essentially plug everything in, including the schedule, and see where all the, this item arrived at this time. You could even see the discrepancies and the dependencies on the items, and the arrival of, like, because you have the bill of lading and you have, the arrival date. So you can do all these like very uh, micro analysis of all
Mhm.
the data, and then quickly at an instant just zoom out and then do the macro evaluation as well,
Right.
um, all at the same time. And so
Right.
it's, you know yeah, that's how I personally use it. um,
And it's very
and
helpful too.
I mean, I
It
think,
instead of spending hours reading it, right, it'll go ahead and
or just searching and googling, right? Like, it's so crazy. I tried this, and maybe you should try this too. Because it's like, when you're evaluating real estate, just go
uh-huh.
to Google, and when somebody sends you like a address or something, I'll go on there and I'll just zoom out on my phone
Okay.
and take a screenshot of the address, and then I'll chuck that into GPT and saying, using public data, tell me about the car count and tell me about the traffic, like traffic studies, population density study, everything, right? You can, because all that information is available online, and so you're just telling it to go get it, and and saying, hey, make sure you include resources. So you could go back and check and see if it's actually like not making anything up. Um, and I have been doing that for every single one of our dispensary clients and evaluating the potential, like, their potential in business, right? And so, yeah, it's extremely powerful.
Yeah, it's
Uh,
crazy, man, how the world's changing, right? It's I think having ChatGPT now, and if we're in the DJ world, I think we would change the whole game, man.
I think it's a game changer for every industry, but yeah, I mean, and how much more fun would it be for, which, by the way, like, if I could go back in time and start all over, I wouldn't change a thing. And I think DJing really was a great foundation.
Right.
And yeah, I think the younger generation is going to have a lot of fun using all these new tools, and now they have, a small, like, everything is, robust Bluetooth technology to where you can literally plug in an SD card on the back, and imagine the setup and running cables and all these
Oh my
things, right?
God, so much simpler.
So
You
much
don't need
easier.
it. You don't need a MacBook anymore or anything.
Yeah, yeah.
It's so easy.
It's, so, and
Yeah, I
more
would
than
love to
likely
go
be an
back and
AI.
do it.
that's
Huh?
that's DJing. There's gonna be an AI that's DJing everything, right? Like, you tell them the wedding songs, you tell them everything, and
But
timeline.
Spotify has something similar
Yeah,
to it. Yeah, so it's
and
crazy.
it's
But
pushing
like even
that
just like
speed
in
again.
ChatGPT, give me good new Punjabi dance floor songs, and then just like and just go in there.
Yeah. And then, or you can just say, I played these three songs and this group of people really like it, even if it's like Malayalam or Kannada or whatever language it
Whatever it
is.
is.
They like these three tracks, give me 50 more like it,
Yep. And
And
then yeah, you can
yeah,
keep going like nonstop 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 hours straight. Yeah,
And
it's great.
I'm pretty sure, it's there. I do know Spotify has that AI feature.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and it does transitioning really well. But the application for it's called DJAY. It was on the iPad. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes. Hmm.
Yeah. So that application also has a pretty advanced feature where it's you just load up all the tracks and
Right.
then just click, basically party mode go, and
And then
it'll
auto.
transition in between and pick the tracks that go well together. And all you need to do to make it smooth is set the first cue point on the first bar, on the first beat, sorry. And as long as you have the first cue point on the first beat, it'll pick it up from there and sync it. So
Right.
it's a nonstop party.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. And
Yeah. I
so,
actually that's the software I use for Niv's thing, like the
mm,
for his deck that he has, the small one.
yep,
It's like a beginner, like it was like $100 on Amazon, so I just bought it for him. And then I purchased the software, the DJ software that you're talking about, for like
yep,
$100.
yep.
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
I just like I just play around with it and see what you think.
I mean, obviously you have the heavy gears, right? Like the actual turntables and all these things. Even they're getting digitized.
Hmm.
For the last set that I had was the Rain 12s, which were,
Do you still
complete.
have them?
Yeah, I still have them.
Do
Still
you still
have them.
play with them?
No, I haven't broke them out in a hot minute. It's been such a long time. I have, yeah, yeah, it's been a while.
So
And
what
the
are you gonna
last
do with them? You just might as well sell them.
I'm holding on to them for something. I don't know what it is, man. I think
Maybe unless
I know I'm gonna keep them. I know that music is gonna make a resurgence in my life in some way. It
of
already has,
course.
in some ways, but yeah, yeah. I don't know what I'm waiting for. I think it's just I don't want to let it go. I want to hold on to those turntables because that is the last inventory from the original batch, from the case to the mic. Right, the mic still had the dent in there
Yep,
from when it dropped off on many barats before, um, and it's still in great working condition. But I
that's
just don't
good.
want to let it go.
No, that's good. You should, yeah, I mean, if you want to, then hang out to them. I mean, I'm actually looking for like whenever we end up building a house, um, I want to make a room designated just like one room for just like a DJing room.
Like a recording studio, like
Yeah,
just
kind of recording studio or just more like having that booth, the
yeah,
vacate, and just having like those lights and then up lights and just like having it just to go and just like decompress. That would be my decompressor.
wow. I don't know if you ever came to the first office that we had, but I had built that exact same room where it was the booth set up and it had yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
But I
that's
can I can definitely see that in the house too.
yeah, just I just want to have one and then just have it like a nicely acoustic levels adjusted and have it
Yeah,
perfect. Yeah, make it soundproof.
yeah,
Instead of a theater room, I'd rather put that in.
yeah.
Personal choice, of
Fair.
course. I mean, everybody can think differently, but that's just my choice.
Nah, I think let me know when you actually figure out the plans, man. I'll take a screen grab of that room on the architectural drawing when you lay it out.
Absolutely, man. I'll let you know. It's still gonna be because we got this house like last April, but this is
Mm,
more like a starter house. I just got it quickly because they were going so fast in that community because we wanted to stay in that community because there's so many kids,
mm.
um, like Nib's age, and that whole community is like that. And there's like a Publix within the community. There's Chipotle just came, Starbucks just came. Everything's inside the community. You don't have to go anywhere.
Oh wow, really?
Yeah. Yeah, it's huge, man. It's like so many houses. The only downside is the houses are very close to one another, but I feel like everything's going that direction now. But it's one of those things. So I'm just like, yeah, it's fine. It's this is a good 5 year house, and then eventually we'll just build something in Raleigh or wherever. That's a pleasant area.
Hmm.
Yeah, but I definitely want to stay in NC though. That's for sure.
Yeah, we see a lot of opportunity in the next 20.
Opportunity plus like whenever Niv grows up, right? UNC's here, Duke's here, NC State's here, everything's here. Um, so he doesn't really have to go anywhere else
Hmm.
because the colleges are here. And then wherever life, takes him and wherever he wants to do.
About North Carolina that I didn't realize was Chapel Hill is in North Carolina, right?
Yeah, it's like from where I am right now, I'm in RTP, so from me, Chapel Hill is like 10 minutes away from here.
Hmm.
I'm in the have you heard of RTP?
No,
Research Triangle Park?
I mean, you mentioned in the conversation before, but must have
Yeah, so I'm in RTP right now, so it's like 10, I would say max 15 minutes away from me
okay.
without traffic.
Wow.
But we don't have traffic like you guys do, so
Now over here, it's well, I live on the outskirts in Boston, so it's not too bad.
okay.
I know in the city it's crazy, but I live in Lowell, and so it's like 40 minutes away from proper Boston, so very
Okay.
much so on the outskirts. And I'm currently living in an apartment. So the area that I'm in, it's nice, it's well developed, and there's not that much congestion yet.
Oh, that's
Uh,
good.
yeah, I feel like it's going to get there in the next 20 years maybe, but there's a big Indian population over here.
I think Boston in general, man, like mass up northeast part and then the southeast.
Yeah, I mean everyone came into New York and then kind of spread out from there. So
Yep. New York, New Jersey
yeah,
was like the hub.
little India.
Yep. And then Chicago and then Cali. But Cali, not as much anymore.
I think Texas is a
Yeah, it's
huge
growing.
emerging spot now.
There's a huge Surti population in Texas.
I think
Huge.
Shruti, Punjabi, and also Gujarati emerging as well.
They have this volleyball tournament in Dallas. I don't know if you heard about it.
No,
Dude, they have like it's like a convention. It's like 4,000 people that go.
really.
Yes, it's huge. I've never been, but like the people that we play with, they've been and they tell me about it. It's crazy. They have
Man,
like a
I should
whole the 18 wheeler.
like
Oh,
investment bankers over there saying anybody invested or interested in cannabis or whatever it is.
yeah, should. Just like 18 wheeler, uh, like Budweiser truck goes to deliver beer when they have that.
Of course.
Yeah, and like all the Michelob
Of
Ultras
course.
and everything. And then they have like all like bars and
Those
it's
leave
it's
their
crazy. It's like a whole convention, dude. It's crazy.
yeah. I believe it.
Yeah,
Especially when all the Smoothies do it, they do it right. They go big. I mean,
they do.
yeah. I remember even. I mean, I'll take this all the way back to the weddings, but you can tell a lot about a person and who they are when they celebrate a wedding, right?
Hmm.
That's the most intimate part of who they are, and they're showing everyone, right? You know, and so Surti weddings were probably the most lit. They had the most most spend in terms of money
Of
behind
course.
partying and having a good time. Um, and then I think the Gujarati weddings care a lot more about the aesthetics. But yeah,
Yeah. And now it's changing, right? You know, when I got married and stuff in 2014, there was like no big thing of like open bar or anything in our community. Obviously, everybody had an open trunk, but
oh,
not an open bar. But it's
they still
changing
have
though.
open trunks, don't they?
Oh, even if there's open bar, they still have that. That's
Right.
just,
I
but
think
it's
guys are
changing though.
used to just hanging out outside, and then talking. Right.
Yep.
That's where all the business meetings happen.
Yeah.
Every single business conversation to, you know, yeah,
Everything. Yeah.
but
It's true, man.
yeah.
It's crazy, but how times have changed.
Mm. Yeah, but I think the one thing that I've picked up from the Kakas is their negotiation skills. That I think is going to persevere through all generations.
Yeah, it will. It will. And especially at a young age, when you start at a young age, because you
Yeah,
started at what, I want to say what, 18,
17.
19, 17?
Um, 17. Yeah,
So same age almost as me.
yeah,
So, and that doesn't leave that. I think that time it's like what you learn business wise, that's like
yeah.
your core foundation.
Mm.
And that won't leave ever. Just like DJing, like when you hear a beat, you're like, okay, this would match with this song really well.
And this guy's not on one. And why is that song off? And
There you go.
so and so. I was in Vegas this past weekend for
I'm going Monday.
oh, okay, got it.
Yeah.
Nice. And I don't drink alcohol. I love cannabis, but I don't really consume alcohol. And so I was
You
the only
stop.
sober one. Yeah, I stopped. It's been almost like north of 5 years,
Oh, that's good.
4 or 5 years. Yeah, to where um, in the day, since we were all celebrating, it's like, oh, let's just celebrate, my friend getting married. Um, I had one drink, but it was right at like, that was like 3 p.m. Right around 11, 12, again, when we were all going out, stone cold sober, and Martin Garrix was spinning. And obviously, just I'm trying to be present, but instinctively, like the ear is just there.
Hmm.
And he train wrecked 3 times.
Really?
He train wrecked 3 times, and I was like, and everybody else was just enjoying it, and I was like, man, I sometimes I wish I could tune that off, but
You can't,
no, you can't. It's and
because
yeah,
people are just they can train wreck there and get away with it because everyone's lit. They don't know what's
yeah,
going on. Long as it's
yeah.
loud.
And then it's the same consistent beat, right? Because it's all at 128, probably like a 126 to 132 in the range, right?
Hmm.
So as long as you don't mess up too bad, it'll be all right. But yeah, it still doesn't leave,
Yeah,
and I
we
don't think
went
it's
to more.
gonna
We
leave.
went to same his. Was he at which club was he at?
Omnia,
I think was he there? Yeah, he was there last year. When we went last year, he was there. So we got a booth there. And
yeah,
yeah, it
it's,
was I think he was all right. I rather go to Tiesto.
yeah, yeah,
Tiesto, and I want to go see what is it? Who else is it?
Hardwell. I've
No,
never
no,
been.
David Guetta.
David Guetta is a really good one
Yeah.
too.
He's not here this week. I checked. Otherwise we would go to it.
Who's there this week?
Oh, see, we're going on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. So all the other good DJs come Friday, Saturday.
Yeah,
So it's
okay.
just some random guys.
Is it? Oh, it's just you guys are
It's
all
like a
going.
convention that we're going to.
Okay,
So, and then make it like a trip out of it with all the guys.
nice. I'm headed
Yeah, we
there.
go
Yeah,
every year in October.
okay. I'm headed there on October the 23rd.
23rd.
For yeah, which is well, I'm gonna be there on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Yeah,
Okay. Yeah, usually all the conventions happen like that Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Because they
yeah,
want to leave the Friday, Saturday, Sunday to all the visitors and tourists.
right.
So
Um, and so yeah, this one's gonna be for a sales workshop. It's a company that I'll send you some information. It's acquisition.com, and it's they have a workshop for essentially raising your or increasing your business, right?
okay.
How what are some strategic and tactical things that you can do in order to increase your overall sales? And so I'm taking my sales team. So I think it's going to be a pretty interesting one.
Okay, nice. That's
Yeah.
good.
So really quickly, Prerak, in operating business, what is a philosophy that you go by, just in general, as a guiding principle in business?
I think it's going to be very similar to what you always hear. It's like trying to do the right thing, um, and do it to the best of your ability,
Hmm.
and the rest just plays itself. Sometimes you're going to have to work a little bit harder, but sometimes that luck pushes it over and you won't have to work as hard.
Hmm.
That's why I always live by that. I don't know. It's just that 60-40 philosophy that I would say luck is more on my side than hard work. And I live by it. And again, like I said, it's just the blessings from God, parents, just family. But
Okay.
that's what I stand by.
That's solid, man. I have a question for you, which is going to be, before we wrap this up, this is the last
Mhm.
question. And this question comes from a guest that came before you. She was the owner and operator of a cannabis dispensary in the state of Massachusetts, in the town of Springfield. Um, and her question to you is, what's a good quote you live by? And for example, hers is, fear and faith can't coexist. So you need to choose one.
Mm, that's a good quote.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, if you think about it very, very deeply, then it's very true,
Hmm.
right? So, but
What's a good quote that you live by?
so I would have to say the quote I live by would be, in order to go for the great, you would have to let go of the good. That makes, just think about it for a second.
In order to go for great, you have to let go of good.
Correct. So the complete meaning behind that is, don't be stuck on good because you're missing out on the great. So it's okay if you have to let go of the good for a little bit in order for you to go for the great. It's, I
Hmm.
don't know if I said 100% the way, uh,
No, it clicks. In order
yeah,
to go
go
go for
great
great, you need to let go of good.
of the good. So,
Hmm.
so don't be settled. Don't get too comfortable where you are, because there's always, like, how we were talking earlier. There's always room for improvement. There's always room for something better out there. So
Hmm.
don't be settled. So
Hmm. Okay. Well, thanks for sharing, man. What's
yeah.
a question that you would like to leave for the next person? It can be anything.
Mm, let's see. If there was another field they would choose in life besides what they're doing right now, what would it be?
What would be that for you, Prerak?
I think I would have pursued in the entertainment industry.
Hmm. Okay.
And that's the reason why I asked that question.
Okay.
How about for you?
Me, it would be uh, it would absolutely be in engineering,
Okay.
and in more specific aerospace engineering.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah, which is um, I am going back to school unofficially uh, in the beginning of next year for engineering and STEM.
Okay. Well, good, man. Good for you. Well, then by that means, I want to get that 100% quote. And that's from Rockefeller, that quote. And it clicked with,
Interesting.
yeah.
Yeah, interesting.
Uh,
Rockefeller was a very interesting guy.
mhm.
Um, Obviously built America, but he had, um, yeah. I don't, have you looked into Rockefeller and his curiosities?
I have.
Oh yeah.
Not all of it probably, but I'm into reading biographies and stuff and then reading about him a little bit. And that's where I got that quote about, in order for, but he said it a little differently. I think he said it in a way, it's like, don't be afraid of letting go of the good to go for the great.
Mm,
I think and I just tweaked it a little because I wasn't reading it and it was just like, all of a sudden. So, but that's the quote if you want to write it down.
yeah. No,
Yeah.
I have his name and I'll definitely look into him. But what'd you find interesting about Rockefeller? Because I have something to share with you. I don't know if you're
Okay.
aware of it, but yeah, I
Um,
just want to hear
I just thought
if
he was a very interesting guy, and he took on risks like we do. He wasn't afraid.
hmm,
I think that would be one of his biggest traits. And in that time, having limited resources, right? We have so much information nowadays. We have the computer. They didn't have anything back then.
hmm.
That's one trait I think I admire.
So Rockefeller was very, very, very interested in um, what he described as or during that time when he was, living. That's what everyone described him as, flying saucers. Um, and he wrote many letters to the president at the time, and saying and pledging um, that they had various research operations that Rockefeller funded
Okay.
for the government in order to evaluate and see what these things were. And yeah, there's that entire history of Rockefeller, and it's I don't think if I don't know if it's in his biography or if it's in his memoirs, but um, or who wrote it, but there are some declassified letters that Rockefeller has written, his own signature, in ink to the president, asking and urging for some type of disclosure or some type of information in regards to that. And another thing in North Carolina, Chapel Hill, in
Hmm.
the 1950s, they were the first institution to have an anti-gravitic department and study anti-gravity. And that entire, I think, nomenclature started at Chapel Hill because they
Okay.
had an entire area of like dedicated towards it. Um, and from there, the technology basically was taken into the private aerospace sector. Right around the time that Lockheed and Martin were getting together and formulating Lockheed Martin. Um, and yeah, there's that entire history lore um, tied to where you live now, North Carolina,
Yeah.
and Rockefeller, which
That's why I don't know if you saw the North Carolina number plates, first in flight.
first in flight. Yep. Yeah.
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 Because
Right, brothers.
you're right, brothers, exactly.
Right.
So I
Yeah.
mean, it has a lot to do with flying.
Yeah. Yeah. So
So
no, it's
maybe you might
very,
want to move this way after you become an aerospace engineer,
yeah. I think for
or go
me,
work with Elon.
nah, man. I don't know about working with Elon. I think or any of that thing, but my yeah, my I don't want to do it for the clout. I don't want to do it for anybody. It's just I know that in order for me to understand the things that really make me curious, I need to be around people that are classically trained engineers, right? And learn the fundamentals because I have none. And so, yeah, yeah, we'll see where that takes me, man. I have no idea.
Yeah, there you
Um,
go.
yeah, but I think this
Okay,
is if I could do anything, another field,
it would
um,
be that
instantly, 100%, it would be
engineering
uh, aer- specifically aerospace engineering.
specifically. Right, right, right. Of course, but in the field of engineering.
Yeah,
Right, right, right. Yeah, I think I would definitely get into the entertainment sector.
entertainment.
Yeah,
Okay.
like specifically
Well,
DJing and growing.
well, I would say, Emma, it's imagine if we had like a moon colony or a Mars colony. People are still going to need DJs. People still imagine,
People are still
scaling the
gonna need to party, right?
PSAV, but but for scaled out. That's
Yep.
the business to get into, man.
There you go,
PSAV.
man.
Yeah.
Nice.
Mhm. Well, Beric, this is great, man. Thank you so much
Yeah.
for
Well, hopefully you got what you were looking for, man.
a great conversation. Yes.
Yeah. That's what you need, right?
All